Okay, update time. We are into the second impulse of the spring 1941 turn. France did collapse relatively early, assisted by the fact they'd supported the Commonwealth in the raid display, and the Germans pushed home that particular strategy, and they went all out to build U-boats. I think they built them all, which does squeeze the Commonwealth a lot, and the effect of that has been that the Italians have managed to pretty much drive the Allies out of Egypt, and they're now threatening Iraq. Though they're some way off, and they'll need to have some support from the Germans, certainly an HQ, to sort out their supply issues. So the British have actually dropped back to Iraq, where they've got some land and air forces. That one is worth 2 points in terms of production, so they can't really afford to lose that as well. And the Italian fleet managed to take advantage of the British fleet that were displaced from, well, actually they moved from port side, and were trying to make their escape. They couldn't use the canal anymore, Suez Canal, that was Axis controlled. So they were fleeing across the Mediterranean, and they got into an engagement with the Italian Navy, who snuck in undetected and treated them pretty roughly. So that's all bad for the Commonwealth side. I guess on the upside, the fact that the Germans have gone heavy on the U-boats meant that they're probably not that prepared for Barbarossa. They did actually do a sea line, but there was enough defence to basically throw them out, because, as I mentioned before, I roll at the end of the potential surrenderers impulse, so that they get a chance to counterattack, which the British did, and recaptured London. So Norway has also fallen. So I think overall we're probably going to be about 3 or 4 units down going into Russia. So we'll see what the downside of the hard press in the west is. The subs are now, I think, of the 7 that are still on patrol and trying to interdict the convoys, 4 of them are actually damaged. And I think the Atlantic Charter starts in the summer 41. Well, will start to feed in a few resources from America, even though they are still neutral. So that may be enough to just help them to start to reinforce in Iraq, and maybe even push back into Egypt from Iraq. That'll be quite interesting. Pacific, slow drive against the nationalist Chinese. The Japanese have been building up their forces, moving out from Japan, starting to get some sort of air umbrella with their land-based air, positioning to attack Malaysia and get down to Singapore. That's all new to me, so I'm having to wing that a little bit, but I guess that's where the fun is. So yeah, look at the map, and that'll do. Apologies for the bit of glare. So we've got some home guard and some air fending off the Germans, who have now given up any chance of invading it for a second time. These are just homemade markers to signify that those 2 forts have been destroyed. This was the adventures into Norway. The supporting air will drop back, ready for Barbarossa. And you'll see there's quite a substantial Russian force here. It's a bit flattering because quite a few of them are the the sort of conscript troops. And in fact, on the initial assault, there's no defensive role for the Russians, so quite a lot of this will get damaged. But we'll see how the early stages go. And down here, we've got the Italians sitting in Cairo, and the last remaining Commonwealth unit in Suez. So they have actually had to move up reinforcing convoys up the West Indian Ocean and feed them across from Basra into, they'll be moving into Baghdad, supported with some air, so hopefully they'll get some further reinforcements at some stage. Maybe allow a counter-offensive, but they will need, you will need HQs to bridge this gap, I think, because you're more than 4 away from any connecting city. German U-boats in the North Atlantic zone. We've got some land-based air here, based in Canada, which has had some success. And we've got carriers on the raid display, trying to fend off these guys, and we've got the Lend-Lease destroyers countering these two, but they have actually had a big effect on the economy. And in the Pacific, the Japanese are driving towards the capital, Kunming. The Americans are about to rebuild the Flying Tigers, so that's allowed even though America is still neutral. And the fanning out of the Japanese in the Pacific, and they've moved some task forces here. I think the Marines are in here, probably going to go into the Philippines, and then some other land forces will go into Malaya. So that's where we are.